Nice. So what do we have today? We have a what? A puppet? I'm getting something to eat first. Oi, make me a sandwich.
Yes, Master Omegon, at once.
Bacon sandwich. Can never go wrong with that. Made by Viper Sword 100, by all means check her out. Link to her channel in the description. Now bring me the puppet.
Guys, it's time we had a man-to-man talk about feminism.
What a fantastic idea. I now get to have a man-to-man conversation with a puppet.
What's the fucking problem? In the simplest of terms, feminism is about creating an equal playing field. Not female superiority, or female advantages, or female domination.
There is already an even playing field, Ed. And I'd like to go so far as to say women do in fact have distinct advantages in law over men. And there is an element of feminism that does want supremacy over men because they believe they are the same thing. I can't believe I'm trying to have a conversation with a puppet.
So why do so many of you lose your shit when the words feminist or feminism are brought up?
It's not just men that lose their shit over feminism or feminist. I'll be honest, usually when I hear feminism or feminist, it's in regard to someone being oppressed, usually a multicoloured cupcake while daddy's buying her Starbucks.
Come on, guys, you know what I mean. Hearing the word feminist in mixed company is like more than just a turd in the punch bowl. It's like someone actually squatting over the punch bowl and dropping one in.
The only time this has ever happened to someone like myself is when I've been told someone's a feminist, and then told all their pronouns, genders, identities. I just don't know how to deal with that. Excluding the obvious. Laughing in their face.
Guys, we've all been there. A woman identifies as a feminist in conversation, and immediately the alarm bells go off. So many questions. What type of feminist is she? Confident, reasonable, third-wave feminist? Or a strident, hairy pits man-hater?
Confident and reasonable third-wave feminists, you say? Well, I took the liberty of asking my dear friend Satirictician. He disagrees. Hell, if Onision can get evidence from a Twitter poll, so can I. And finally, I ask technology, and it says...
Computer says no.
The reason you say these particular feminists are reasonable and confident is because you've never actually disagreed with them on anything, and their confidence is derived from irrational thought.
It's like Schrodinger's cat, until you know for sure that woman is both a reasonable feminist and a lunatic. And you don't really want to find out which one, because you may find yourself on the event horizon of a black hole, conversational quicksand, where the more you try to get out of it, the more it sucks you in.
And the last thing we want, of course, is to have a discussion with another person that may challenge our beliefs. Dig that hole, indeed. I get the feeling you're going to be leading us in the direction of, these women have a right to be heard and be indignant and irrational because they've been oppressed for centuries.
Add in more confusion when it's a guy saying he's a feminist. Again, questions. Which type of male feminist is he? The kind of male feminist who's just hoping to get laid, or the activist kind who hates his own penis?
I think you'll find the correct term is male feminist ally, and they're all only doing it to touch the fabled booby.
So with that kind of minefield to navigate, it's understandable why hearing the word feminist puts even the average guy who's supportive of feminism into an internal panic.
To some, holding a discussion with a feminist is not actually that much of a panic. Others will find an exit because that to them is the safest way of avoiding an unnecessary scene that will most likely be caused by the feminist. It has gotten to the point now where we can see a feminist coming at us across the street, and we cross the road to avoid them. You know, label profiling.
What is not understandable to me are the messages and tweets I get from guys who believe that feminism is some diabolical plot by women to reduce men to vassals, groveling at their feet, with no safe word.
Maybe it's not such a bad idea for third and fourth wave feminists to do that to men, to make them into their own sex slaves. Let's face it, it is the only way they're going to get a straight man to knowingly sleep with them. That sounded a bit harsh. Let's try a different way. Twitter is not a good way to interact with people who may disagree with you. With only 150 characters, people are going to resort to the shortest words possible to get a point across. That could easily be perceived as abuse. As you've not linked any tweets or shown any, I get to dismiss it and simply say, I'll stand by my earlier remarks. Ed.
Dudes, what's wrong with you?
Online community? Wait, what the fuck are you doing here? Oh dear God. You do realise you just shat on my floor, right?
I'm sure you have some very compelling evidence to back up these claims and a massive list of sources.
Red Robot.
Yes?
Can you clean this up? He did it again.
Oh God. Again?
Yeah, I know, it's pretty disgusting. Can you please clean this up for me? I kind of have a show to run here.
Fine. But you get to clean the parasites and the space weevils out of my chassis.
Fine, I'll clean your chassis. Now while Red's doing that, let's go to a quick commercial break. Okay, so where were we?
Dudes, what's wrong with you? First of all, the idea that a huge number of women are working together seamlessly, cooperating on a complex plan, denies the reality of the world, where women are far more critical of other women than men are, and where one of the big obstacles for women advancing in the workplace is other women.
I feel like you're going to be leading me to an epiphany, so perhaps you could just get to it to save me the hassle.
But clearly to some of you idiots, civil society in the working world is an inviolable manland, an ecosystem designed for men where women are an invasive species. And I get it. The world was penisopolis for generations. That doesn't mean it was reflective of the natural order of things. If women weren't suited to or capable of working, we wouldn't have had to work so hard to keep them out.
I've never been much of a fan of those claims that women never did any work. Certainly before society got to where it was now, women did. They either worked to help grow food or get food or shelter, to look after the family or themselves, or they were raising children because that was work. And I know some will now say, oh, herpa-derpa-derp, gender roles, but this was relevant to a different time. Women were in the fields like the men. They had to stop because medical science had not gotten to the point where a woman could go back to work after the devastation wrought to her body after having a child. Rocket science, I guess, to some. Society is now at a point where many concessions can be and have been made for people who are disabled, who have been ill, who have had children. We now can be a very diverse and dynamic society because of all the hard work we have put into it together. That does not mean one has been discriminated against or is being discriminated against. It means that we did different things to achieve a similar goal. None of this will matter to you, of course, Ed, because you're instead probably most likely just going to reel off typical feminist rhetoric to make a non-point.
As a result, we have an unbalanced situation in the working world, where women are still being paid less than men for doing the exact same work with the exact same experience.
No, they're not, Ed. They're really not. And the sooner you get this through your rather dense puppet skull, like the rest of you feminists, the better. I'm just going to play the Sean Head clip again. I'm sorry to people who have already seen this a dozen million, trillion, billion, gajillion times.
The wage gap is simply the average earnings of men and women working full-time. It does not count for different job positions, hours worked, or different jobs. It has nothing to do with the same job. It has nothing to do with discrimination.
I know you're just a puppet, but your handler is a moron. I must now resist the urge to do to you what Brian Connolly did to his.
It's a puppet!
You know, a lot of anti-feminists like to scream about meritocracy. Equal pay for equal work. How is that not a basic element of meritocracy?
Because meritocracy is all about equal opportunity and where talent shines. Feminists push for things like affirmative action, which devalues the accomplishments of anyone who has earned their place that may share gender or race with that person, neither of which should be a factor in the first place.
How can anti-fems be all about meritocracy but deny that a pay gap is a problem?
I would like to correct you first. While you said pay gap, you are in fact talking about the wage gap. This does matter, it's not semantics. There are factors in the wage gap that are totally fictitious, but those within the pay gap, like career choice, experience, and occupation itself, are very important. Oh, and let's not forget, men are more likely to do overtime. Men are more likely to go for the bigger risk, high reward job opportunities. They are career driven, they're challenge driven to try and be more. Women are quite content, by and large, statistically proven to be happier to settle.
Answer by denying there's a pay gap at all and claiming it's a false stat cooked up by women to take men's jobs.
I don't suppose you have any evidence to back this up, do you? Or are you instead going to resort to some kind of cheap joke?
It's very Trumpian. I don't like it, so it doesn't exist and is an attack against me.
I have seen that done by more feminists in the online community than I have in the anti-feminist online community. Sorry, the feminist echo chamber and the anti-feminist echo chamber. We're not very diverse, you know.
Honestly, painting the feminist movement as women trying to take men's jobs? Here's the thing, guys. Women aren't taking your jobs. They weren't your jobs to begin with. They're just jobs!
That's an interesting point, because jobs have been taken from people because they have to meet certain gender quotas, certain racial quotas. And this is not right, because it's basically saying you can be as qualified as possible for this job, but if we need someone that matches this particular type, you're not going to get the job, because you're not the right fit, even though you are perfect for the job. This has happened before to people I know, and yes, I'm going to insert anecdotal evidence where people have lost jobs to make way for women to take over from them who didn't have the experience and ended up fluffing up the job, and then that guy would then get called back, only for that guy to then flip him off, because quite frankly, that level of disloyalty is astonishing, it's unfair, it is cruel, and it is not right. You say that it is just a job, it is not a man's job. You are slightly right and slightly wrong. It is just a job, but if someone is already doing it, it is their job, regardless of gender.
And if some employers lean toward hiring a qualified woman over a qualified man because she is a woman, so?
And herein lies a problem. You are openly okay with gender discrimination. Discrimination of any kind is wrong. Oh, you're a fucking puppet, and I want to burn you.
It didn't bother you when it was the other way around. You've become champions of meritocracy only after you lost your unfair advantage. That isn't a cause, it's whining.
Just because people then did in fact do this does not mean it is okay now to do it to balance it out.
Take it from a phallic symbol. Real men embrace competition, not try to tilt the playing field.
You are equating competition in the workplace with open discrimination based on gender. The toughen up princess doesn't work here, because it does not apply to an equal playing field at all. In fact, it does not equate to meritocracy.
And you know something else? The experience of being a woman is different from being a man. Sometimes specifically hiring a woman benefits the workplace with a fresh set of eyes.
And so the experiences of men are different to that of women, especially if they think someone is equating meritocracy to discrimination and passing it off as okay. You could also apply that same logic of hiring a woman into a male-dominated workspace the other way around. For example, a whole strip club of women. Insert a male stripper, you have a fresh set of eyes. The same logic applies. We all win. We can all go home now.
I think by this point, the really rabid women haters can no longer hear me over the sound of blood rushing through their veins and the noisy clatter of their furious typing of outraged comments. But this is still a message to those anti-feminists. This notion that women want unfair advantages because they're asking men to stop having an unfair advantage?
That's not what's happening at all, Ed. What's happening is there is an equal playing field in the workplace, and people are asking for supremacy, and it's not the men. Equality for everyone.
Damn, there's a lot more to this topic, but as a wise friend of mine once said, the mind can absorb what the seat can endure. I'll do another video soon about the fear of feminism actually inspired by scary feminists. I think I'll call them feminists. I don't know. We'll see. And to those spineless, stained t-shirt wearing, basement-dwelling, perpetual virgin keyboard warriors who identify as men's rights activists who will watch this video and call me a cuck, fuck you!
Okay, so first, I can hardly wait for your follow-up videos on the feminists. Second, you mentioned basement-dwelling MRAs or whatever. You leave Bane out of this. He's the world's greatest PUA, and you could never get any woman as hot as him, mostly because he pays for them with the allowance he gets from his mother. Thank you all for listening.